Hello, welcome to the Data Channel. So, as part of the Databricks Certified Machine Learning Engineer Associate Certification playlist, so today in this video we will be bringing up a demo session, especially for the load and explore data. So, in this particular video, we will be explaining how to load the data, explore the data. Basically, it is about whenever you have a data set, right? How do you read that data set in Databricks, and how do you visualize the data set, explore the data sets, get the initial analysis or initial taste of the data set, how exactly the data looks like, how clean the data is, what would be the key parameters or the columns that can be useful when you are writing a machine learning use cases, right? And how do you write a data into a Databricks Delta table, and how do you time travel that particular table, and you can revert it to the previous version, etc. So all those the basic operations of which is part of the data preparation. So we will be discussing in this particular video, and this is a demo session. So would recommend you to please practice along with me. So that would be the recommended approach so that you can get maximum out of this particular video. Before proceeding, if you are new to this channel, we would recommend you to please subscribe and also press bell button for instant notifications. So let's get started. So now let's quickly jump to the Databricks workspace, right? So this is how the Databricks workspace looks like. And so what is definitely needed here is, so you need to make sure that you are using the right version of the cluster, right? So that we will see in this particular video what kind of cluster you need to use, what kind of runtime you need to use, right? And the other aspect is you need to have the practice notebooks along with you. You can write the practice notebook, the code that is required as like from your own, or you can use the code that is already written here. So if you require this particular practice notebooks, I would recommend you to please send a mail request to the mail ID that is there in the description, right? So that we'll be able to share the notes with you, right? And so now, if you see here, right now I'm into the Databricks workspace and I'm into my user, right? And in this user, I'm having a folder which is called as data preparation for machine learning 2.1.6, right? So this particular in this particular like folder structures, you have libraries that is required, and there is a lab that is M01, so that we'll be concentrating today, that is managing and exploring the data, right? So in this, if you see, there is a demo section, there is a lab section, and there is a lab solution. That means for the assignments, if you want to go back and practice that, right? We will quickly see what is there in the demo. We'll not go in detail, but we will first, at a glance, we will see this is how the Databricks notebook looks like, right? And next you have the lab, right? So this is where you see, this is also the same version that you have in the previous explanation that we will be doing, but this is more of a lab is more of a practice. So lab will come up with some placeholders where you have to write your code. For example, here if you go, it is looking for some placeholders, right? Yeah, if you go to the lab, so there is some placeholders where you have to write your code. But the demo part where it actually holds the entire code, so that will be going through this particular video. And lab part, you need to go and practice. You need to write a code and practice yourself based on the demo section, right? And if you need any help for the lab, so that code will be in the solution part. But in this course, what we'll be going through is more of a demo part. So lab and solution part is left to you, so that you can go and practice for yourself, so that you can get more hands-on experience when you're doing that. But definitely, if you need any help on the lab section solutioning it, if you know any better solutions to write the code, please comment in the comment section for the and give the suggestions. But now let's get started with the demo part of it. So in the demo part, which we'll be discussing today, that is load and explore the data. So what exactly this means, right? So there is a data, right? So data would be in a particular format in the table, right? And that table from a different locations needs to be loaded first to the Databricks, right? The data has to come to the Databricks workspace. So then only you can perform the analytics or analysis, right? So that part we'll be doing it today, right? So we bring the data to the Databricks workspace, and then we see at an initial glance what are the things that you can do, how you can visualize the data, how you can draw the initial insights about the data, right? That would help for the machine learning from the machine learning perspective, because so the machine learning or the AI ML use cases, whatever you're talking about, is completely depend on the data and the data quality and the relationship between the data. That means how the columns are dependent on each other, and also the use case. Like if you're working on a retail industry, how that is, you need to understand the data from the subject matter expert perspective. So that's why you need to know how to read the data, how to read it like a subject matter expert. So that also matters here, right? So now coming to this part where you will be seeing this demo where you will read the data, right? Like we will be using pandas also, because when you're using pandas, you can have the large data sets, and you can you can leverage the pandas libraries, because basic or the fundamental Spark libraries might not give the extensive libraries that pandas has, right? So that's why we will use pandas data frame also to see how we can put the data into the delta table and into the pandas libraries, pandas data frame, and see how we can leverage the power of pandas. And also we will see the time travel part of it. How do you see the versioning of the data, how we can revert to the previous version, etc. And also write the data from data frame into delta tables, right? Because ultimately the data in the Databricks has to sit in the delta tables, because you process the data, read, write, right? And then finally you write into a delta table, and then the data at rest will be in the delta tables. So that's why these are the key elements before you actually do the machine learning. So these are the very basic operations: read, write, etc. Right? And you can also see compute summary statistics on machine learning, and profiling, the data profiling, and also compute a correlation matrix between the columns, that will be useful in your machine learning data or machine learning use cases. And also you can visually explore data using built-in visualization capabilities to examine certain outliers, continuous and variable distributions, and categorical variable distributions, etc. Right? So there is certain requirement to kind of practice these, right? So definitely the requirement is you need to have the right cluster, right? When I say right cluster, because we are using the machine learning concepts here, you need to have the libraries built in. So that is why you need to make sure you have 16.3x CPU, that is ML, which is Scala 2.12. Okay. If I go to the compute here, and if I see this particular cluster, so it is of 16.3. So you need to have anything above this, or 16.3 or anything above this. And so you need to use this kind of runtime, so that you can get maximum out of this course, and you need not use any install any machine learning libraries. They will be inbuilt. So you just need to import them in the work in your notebook or workspace. You can start working on that. So that's the one of the important key requirement of using the right compute. Okay, so you need to have the right compute, and definitely you need to have this practice notebook. As I said, if you need this practice notebook, please send a email request to this particular email ID that is there in the description. We will be able to share this and mention that you need this for this particular course, right? And so there is a certain classroom setup, so that is done as part of the package that is already built in. So you need not worry about this. You just need to run this package, right? So it will take some time to import all the libraries or import all the data that is required for this particular practice session. Why we are doing this is because to get the seamless experience of the learning, because you should not waste time, or you should not waste you should not divert your mind and getting lost in the setting up the things. So this does all the setup part, bring all the data, like import all the required libraries and whatnot, right? So that is a convenience so that you have here. So you just need to run this setup. So it is running basically the includes. There is an include folder, right? If you go here, so there is an includes folder as part of this, and that has all the libraries and the data that is required, and it does all the setup that is required, right? And it will come back to this. Mm, notebook. So yeah, as you see, it has taken some 40 seconds, right? And once you do that, you can execute this particular cell to see which exactly the catalog name that you're using. So the catalog name is important because that is a Unity catalog, the default catalog, right? If you go to the catalog section now, and so this is a DB Academy is your catalog, right? And if you see the username, so there is no tables created right now, right? Because we have not done any operations of writing a new table. All right. So coming back to here again, so you can see here, this is a username, this is a catalog name, this is a schema name, right? And which is a working directory. So it has set up all the things that is required for you to go and practice. So now, what is the data set that you are using in this demo is the data set is related to the retail, that is the customer transaction details, right? So you'll be able to see here there is a CSV file in this volume that we have kept in the Databricks already. So because we have done that imports, etc., so the data is already kept in this particular volume. So we are just using Spark capability here, Spark inbuilt capability of spark.read. And because we are reading the CSV file, we just give CSV. Accordingly, if you have Excel, Parquet, like text file, etc., right? So you can use accordingly, the syntax will change. Here we are using data set, the path that you want to read, header, you want to consider header, and infer schema, you want to infer the schema equal to true. What that means is you basically, whatever the file has that header. So if the file has a header as customer name and country, location, etc. So the same column names will be inferred as a column names in the table that you are reading as, right? And it is a multi-line. Yes, it is a multi-line, and there is escape characters is this one. You can use delimiters. There are a lot of options that you can use here, but for now we'll be using this option, right, to read the data and display it. However, when you're displaying it, right, so there is a lot of things you can encounter. For example, there is a gender null here, right? And there is a dependent nulls. So you basically go and you need to read the data basically. And you might feel that, okay, so whatever you are using here, right, the customer, you have given the infer schema equal to true. But however, you want to control the schema. Basically, if you see here, right? So this is customer ID is coming as string, senior citizen is coming as double. So all this basically it might you might feel that you want to control these, right? So then how do we want to control this? We need to change the syntax of this and specify the string values, right? So then you can specify the column names using string, right? So then you can ask the Copilot, and Copilot is giving you the suggestion. So it is exactly telling you that you can use this option here, right? Basically, what it is doing is it is putting all these column names into a array, right? Array of strings. And here, if you see, it is actually giving two data frame as column names, right? Or you can ask it. using, I want to use like infer schema equals to false, right? Infer schema equal to false. And I also want to specify the column names, right? As strings, as string. So now let us see what exactly it suggests. And let us, what we can do is let's column names and data types, because I want to control the data types as well here. Let us see now. Okay, so now it is giving what I wanted to do here. So let me accept this now, because I'm able to control the, so now it is giving me the customer ID and string, gender, senior citizen, etc. So it is giving me what I like want to control basically, right? Let me try to go and execute this. Now you can see customer ID is coming as string, senior citizen is integer, tenure is integer, etc. Right? And I can go ahead and see this data, how exactly this looks like. But if you see here, tenure is all null. So I want to change tenure to double. Yeah. So now if you see tenure is coming good. So here the churn is important column, because it says how the customers are retained over a period of time. So that's one of the important key parameter, right? And you can just have a glance over all of this data. And if something coming as null, and if you want to change, and if you see a senior citizen is also coming null, right? So this also you need to change the data type accordingly, so that you get the data. So here it is an integer. So let's try with double here also. Yeah, so now senior citizen is coming as 0 and 1 or null, right? So that's why you need to refine the data by controlling many aspects. So there is no one fit, like one rule to fit everything. There is nothing like a written rule that you have to do certain things, but it is based on the data. So as I'm seeing the data now, so the tenure was all null. So I have to change the data type to double so that I get the values in there. And the senior citizen also have to change the value to double. And if there is a, for example, if there is a date time coming as a like some string values, I want to change it to date time, etc. So those kind of operations you have to do, because like you need to bring the data into the right format, fit into the right columns and the data types. That's very important here, because based on the data types only, the calculations can go right or wrong. Okay. So that's the important point of it. And next is exploring data summary. So so what is summary, right? So you need to understand. So I can just have a glance over the data, right? But there are around 7,000 records, 7,000 plus records here. I cannot just literally go and read all this data or have eyeball check on all of this data, right? So they need to have some summary so that I can get like the high level picture of what's going on in the data. So that summary you can get in multiple ways. So one is you can leverage the inbuilt Spark data frame method, that is data frame dot summary. So let's try with data frame dot summary and look how exactly that is able to give the picture of the data. So as you can see, the data frame dot summary is giving me some summaries. So basically, it is giving some statistical or mathematical calculations or the KPIs, that is count, mean, standard deviations, max, min, right? And the data deviation in the percentile, how exactly the data is getting deviated, and all this for each column it is giving, right? So, and with this, you can ask what is that I'm going to do with this, right? So you can have a glance and you can get some summary out of this. For example, you can draw some conclusions over it. For example, the count. So you can get how many senior citizen like genders are there, like how many data is with gender, without gender, right? And how many have the partner, how many have the dependents basically, right? And So what is a monthly charge, right, for each, and what is the total charge? How many people are getting churned, and what is the data max and min of that churn value, right? So what are the payment methods people are using? So like mail check is a payment method, right? So this is how you just get a quick glance. You're not trying to derive out of any conclusion here, but you just trying to get a glance of what exactly is happening in the data at a high level, right? With the statistics, right? Yeah. So this there's a monthly charges and total charges. What is the min, max, etc. So that might give you um, some way of understanding this data, right? So next, another way is there is another way that is called as a summarize. So this is another way of displaying summary statistics to Databricks. Basically, this particular summarize function automatically generate the comprehensive report for the data frame. So and this has a critical statistics, data types, and presence of missing values provides a holistic view of the data set. So let's see what exactly this is trying to do. Okay. So this is interesting, right? Because this is giving some sort of like visualization now. So you might have seen the in the previous also we have got the stats, but here it is giving me some sort of visualization based on the data, whether it is a categorical data or whether it is a numerical data, right? So so if you see here, it is able to identify automatically which are the numerical features like citizens, tenure, monthly charges. It is categorizing as a numerical features and how the data is distributed, right? So like how the data is skewed. If you see the tenure, so tenure is skewed to the left, right? So and if you see the monthly charges, so monthly charges is skewed at the starting, and so as and when we grow, so the monthly charge is increasing. Senior citizen is completely skewed data to the left. Okay. And if you want to see the categorical values, right? So the categorical values are like it is able to identify gender, dependents. Okay. So whether they have a dependence, yes or no. So these are all categorical values, right? Yes or no, yes or no. So all of these values it is able to identify as a categorical values, and it is showing you some sort of visualization here, right? What is the frequency, average? So and there are some critical points here also. So if you see here, there is missing values. So if there are like say heavy missing values, right, like 20%, 30% missing values, so then it is a quite a good indication that you should be cautious of considering those columns in your machine learning or AI use cases, right? Because that might deviate the entire calculations, or calculation might go wrong. Okay. So with this missing values, so there is certain treatment you'll be doing in the as part of the machine learning process. So that you'll be seeing in the upcoming videos. But here what we are doing is we are just visualizing the initial data and getting the glimpse of how exactly the data is, right? So one aspect I would like want to take here is the missing values. So what is the percent of missing values, which columns has the missing values, and how the data is skewed, right? This is also one of the important parameter when you're writing machine learning algorithms or choosing the models, right? And so and what which are the columns which are numerical, categorical. So if you feel a particular column is not part of categorical but it should be numerical, based on that you can change the data types. So all those can be done here in this particular by seeing all these visualizations, right? And if you see here within this generated summary, the interactive features allows to sort of information of this various criteria. That means feature order, and you can see the non-uniformity of the data, alphabetical, and amount of missing and zero values. So all these data you can see, and also you can leverage the data type information, and we can selectively filter out specific data types in depth for some certain analysis. So this functionality enables you to create charts that is tailored for our analytics preference, facilitating deeper understanding of data frame and extracting valuable insights, right? So that's what it is giving us. So the next aspect is there is something called as display function. Display function is not only facilitates the viewing of the detailed data frame, but also serves the purpose of um, but also serves as a powerful tool for visualizing the data, whether it is a pie chart or a bar chart. The functionality allows you to perform more visualization based approaches here. Let us see how this looks like, and uncovering the dependency and pattern from the data frames, right? So let us click on the plus symbol here and let me go to the visualization section. So as you can see here, it is giving me a lot of visualizations, right? So what I can do is I can choose monthly charges as a x-axis, right? And view access in the customer ID. So you can have a lot of visualizations with this, right? And you can choose chart, for example, right? So it basically depends on what are the use case, how do you want to visualize the data here, right? And all these aspects. So it's all about, again, how do you want to visualize the data, right? So this is quite important. So like to see this and visualize the data. And also there's something called data profile. You can also click on data profile here and you can see the exact same thing that we did in the previous command. Okay, what we did in the previous command, data db dot data dot summary. So the same thing you can do when you're displaying the data. You can click here and you can click on profile. So and you can get the similar visualization here of the data. Okay. So when you're talking about data visualization, so that's what we saw, right? And so one more thing is I would just want to show you is like you are able to create the visualization here, right? So you can create a visualization. Let us try to create one visualization, simple, right? So in the x-axis, we will choose customer ID, right? In the y-axis, I'm going to choose yeah, in the y-axis, I'm choosing monthly charge, and I can choose some of it, and I can see here, right? So for each customer, how the data looks like, okay? And I can use horizontal chart. I can see this visualization, right? There are a lot of options you can play around, okay? So that completely depends on, again, what are the visualization you want to do, right? So once you do this, you can save this visualization so that the visualization is always there. And other thing is you can put this visualization into a dashboard. You can tag this visualization to a dashboard, right? You can click here, add to a new notebook dashboard, right? So that will go and add to a particular dashboard that you want to create here, right? So you can give a demo dashboard, right? And you can save this dashboard, okay? And if you come back, okay. So you can click here and you can go to that dashboard again whenever you want to, right? You can return to the notebook from here. Okay, so that is creation of dashboard. You can tag this visualization into a dashboard, right? And also you can pretty much download the visualization here, right? You can download the visualization as a CSV, Excel, TSV, image, right? So there's a lot of options you can try it out here, and that is what is mentioned in this particular explanations here, right? And further, we'll move to the exploring data with a custom aggregation. So this is as simple like if you are familiar with a SQL or if you are a data engineer, you should always be knowing this, already be knowing that you do a group by operation, right? Which is quite simple operation. So I want to group by a particular column and I want to display some results. So that is exactly same thing we are doing here. So we are grouping this data frame, that is telco data frame, the retail customer data frame by payment method, and you are counting it by payment method, right? So for each payment method, what are the customers, number of customers or number of transactions that's happening. So you can see here for each payment, so the payment method, you can see the count. And we are doing a ascending, that means it is a ascending fall, that means you are doing a descending order here. Simple as that, right? And again, based on this, you can perform visualization. As I said, you can do a this visual like a pie chart visualization, right? Where you can see this kind of visualization where where you can categorize into different payment methods, right? And the next observation is identifying payment method distribution, how exactly this is distributed. So through the group by command, right? So we have done the group by command here. Okay. And we have identified how exactly the data is distributed for each payment methods, right? So, and also we can observe that there is 704 instances where there is no payment method that is mentioned. So all these are part of exploration and data analysis, right? With some visualizations and doing certain operations. So next is external visualization tools. Okay. So what is external visualization tool? That means apart from Spark, you can leverage here the Pandas data frame. So how do you use the Pandas data frame? We are using this. We will use a popular Python library, that is Seaborn and Matplotlib, for creating custom visualization. Because so whatever the visualization that we were seeing here, right? The pie chart and the bar chart and the different bubble chart, etc. So those were Spark inbuilt and the Databricks default visualization. But if you want to enhance the visualization capabilities, and if you want to get more insights, so you can use Pandas data frame, and you can use the inbuilt libraries like Seaborn and Matplotlib. So Seaborn and Matplotlib, please note that these are one of the key libraries that is used in machine learning use cases to visualize the data, right? So that we will be using here. So basically what we have to use that first we need to convert our the normal Spark data frame to a Pandas data frame. So that's what we are doing here. Data frame dot to Pandas. That means it is converting our normal data frame to the Pandas data frame. That underscore PDF is a Pandas data frame now, right? So now let us try to display this and see. Yeah, so this is that means we are able to create a pandas data frame now. So whatever you are displaying, this is a pandas data frame. So this here you might not able to see any difference, but the since it is converted to a pandas data frame, we will be able to use a lot of visualizations, as I was telling, like Seaborn and Matplotlib, kind of plotting libraries. So that we will be using now, right? So we will import the Seaborn, that is as SNS, and SNS is user defined. You can name it as different name, but uh, but what we need to definitely give is import what exactly you want, matplotlib dot pyplot, and that we are naming it as PLT. So once you import the required packages here, that is visualization packages. So this is coming from, so you are not installing this in the libraries, because the cluster that you are having now, 16.3 machine learning runtime cluster, so that already has this libraries installed. So you're just importing those libraries. So that is the key. That's why we were telling. So please make sure that you are using the right runtime. Okay. So now you need to select the columns. Which are the columns, numerical columns that we have already seen in the top when we are doing a visualization, we have identified. So these are the three numerical values, numerical columns, right? So we will consider these three numerical columns now. And we want to try a correlation. What is correlation in machine learning? It simply means that which these are the three columns I'm giving, how whether these columns are correlated. That means if there is an increase or decrease in any of these columns, how does that impact to the other column. That means we are able to derive if there is any sort of relationship, whether it is a positive, negative, or neutral, any kind of relationship between the different numerical columns. So that we will be able to see here using the correlation function that you already have, right? So that correlation function we are leveraging here. So we are having a pandas data frame, and we are using the selected data frame. That means we have specified which are the columns I want to derive the correlation, and I am giving dot core, CORR. That means I want to derive the correlation out of it. So once I have the correlation, I will write into a different data frame. So based on that, so what I'm doing, I'm now leveraging the matplotlib and seaborn libraries. So using these combinations, I'm able to create a visualization. Let us see how that visualization looks like and how you can derive the correlation out of it. right? Basically, you are giving the fixed size here, 10 comma 6. That is a figure size. That is a resolution kind of thing. And you are telling I want a heat map. So heat map is one of a visualization that is used for correlation, and you want annotations, that is giving the annotations here, and these are like cool, warm. So these are like a fancy stuffs or the customization that you are giving here. But what is important here is to note you are using a Seaborn library, that heat map function in the Seaborn library. And you are plotting that. So you have this, and then finally you kind of a plot dot title. So you are plotting a figure here and giving it a name, that is correlation heat map for telco data set, and you are showing that. Okay. So Seaborn is basically displaying the, I mean, it is creating this chart, and the plot is actually visualizing that. That means it is printing into this view. So if you see now, so tenure to tenure will always be a one, because it is a direct correlation, because it's the same column we are talking about. But if you see tenure to monthly charge, how much it is correlated? 0.25 it is correlated. And similarly, monthly to tenure, it is how much it is correlated, you can see. So you can play around with the different columns. Okay, so here we're talking about 0.25, which is not so much correlated. If the correlation is say zero point 0.8 or zero point 0.9, correlation always range between 0 to 1. Okay, so if it is zero point 0.8, zero point 0.9, that means it is positively correlated. That means it is strongly correlated, right? So it can be like minus 0.025 also. That means it is negatively correlated. So that can also happen. So basically, this is this kind of visualization you can use to kind of derive correlations, understand how different columns are correlated to each other, etc. So there is one more visualization called pair plot for numerical values. So let us see how exactly this visualization helps in deriving certain values, right? So this is providing us a quick overview of how feature interact and whether a certain pattern emerge based on the churn status, right? So let us see here, right? Basically, there is a tenure. So how tenure will impact the churn, right? So churn, yes or no, you can see here. Okay. And there is a tenure here and monthly charge here. Okay. So if you can see here, if there is a monthly charge, if it is more, okay, so then there's a high chance of churn, right? If monthly charge and tenure is both are more, so then the chances of churn is less. Okay, if it is just a tenure increase but monthly charge is still under less, so then there is a low chance of churn. Okay, so you can perform this kind of visualization. Okay, and based on the tenure, how exactly this looks like. So this is a pair plot for a telco data set that we are using here, right? So there are a lot of visualizations. This is just an example. Based on this example, you will be able to derive that. What are the relationship between like churn and monthly charge and tenure, etc. Okay. So there is something called as box plot. We will see how exactly the box plot will help us. So create a box plot to visually compare the distribution of monthly charges between customer who churned and does not, and those who don't, or those who didn't. Okay, so here, if you see here, monthly charge distribution by churn status. So here the plot is about the churn, which is yes or no. Okay, so churn S is where monthly charges are more. You can see it is towards that monthly charge more, and churn no is where the monthly charges ranges from this to this. So you can see how the data is distributed for churn S and churn no with respect to the monthly charges. Okay, so that's what we are seeing here, the distribution of monthly charges between the customer who churned or who didn't churn. So these are very uh, exploratory analysis that you will be doing, and you can understand the data. And so these are all about the visualization. In the upcoming videos, we will again see a lot of visualization. So this is just a basic visualization. We want to just show how exactly Databricks is can be leveraged to perform certain visualizations. So next is the writing data into the delta table, because once you do all kind of data cleansing, visualization, you do certain data transformations, etc. Right? Ultimately, you should know how to write to a data like a table, because after all the process that you're doing, so you need to write into a table, or you need to persist that data into a table, right? So that is, if you don't persist the data into a table, so the data is gone. So you have to persist the data, because whatever exploring the data you're exploring here, it is in the Databricks workspace, or it is a cached into the data frames. So the data frames has to be written to a table. So then that data will be persisted. Okay. So now I'm creating a table called telco missing bronze. You can take any table name, but so this is my table name, and the data frame that I'm having, I'm writing to a table name called telco missing bronze. So you can give save as table, or you can give data frame dot write dot format delta, and then give the table name. And when you're writing, there are different options where you can overwrite, append, right? So there are different options, but this is a basic option where you want to save it as a table, right? So once it is saved as a table, you can literally do something like this, like query it like a table. Select star from the table name. Table name is telco missing bronze. So I have written that into this table. So now the data is persisted into this table. And let's go to the catalog and see whether the table is reflecting in the catalog now. Yes, it is reflecting in the catalog. That means it has went physically, and it has written the data frame data into a table, right? So now that data is in the table, so we will see one more option called as time travel. Okay. So time travel is nothing but you keep on when you have a table, right? And on a daily basis, what you will be doing is you update a table, you delete the table, you delete certain rows in the table, and you merge the data into the table. So on a daily basis, you have certain scheduled pipelines or some ad hoc operations that will keep on changing the data in this table, right? However, on a certain point, you want to see what was the data as on yesterday, or what was the data as on 25th of the month, okay, or 12th of this month. So then you need this time travel. This is an inbuilt feature of the delta table. So Databricks delta table has this concept of time travel. That is, you can use this feature to literally do a time travel as on particular version or as of that particular date, so that you can see that data of the table of that particular version. So you can literally do that using certain operations. That is using, there are two options to do the time travel, whether you understand which version you want to do a time travel, or you want to understand the time of that particular table where you want to do a time travel. So using that two options, you can do the time travel. Let us see what are that options, and see how exactly we can use that. So now what, before I do a time travel, I am doing certain operation called I want to drop these particular two rows from this table that I have, right? And then I write into this same table. Okay, so now that means gender and senior citizen, these two columns I have dropped it. However, I find that it is maybe accidental, or there might be change. There might be a case where I want to see these columns for some reason, right? Or I want to revert the change because it might be accidental deletion. So that time I will do a describe history of this table. So let us see what it shows. So it is showing me two critical things here. One is the version. Okay. That means because I first have written to this table, and after writing to this table, I did a one more operation, that is dropping the columns. So that is the first version, that is 0, is when I return the data frame into this table. That is a very initial version, that is called version 0. So then the second version, which is version 1, where I drop the two columns. So when I do a select star from this table, I will get the data of what? The latest version, that is version 1 in this case. But I want to get the data of version 0, or view the data of version 0, that is possible. So that is based on the version number. So that we will see now. if you see this schema, currently the table schema, you don't find that the columns that we dropped, gender and senior citizen. Let us see. You don't find gender and senior citizen columns here, right? So now let us try to describe this table also and see whether gender and senior citizen column is there. It is not there. Okay. However, I need those columns now. So that's why I want to revert changes back to the previous version and rectify the accidental deletion of the columns, for example. So then what I can do is I can use spark.read.option version as of 0 dot table, and I can specify the table name here, and I'm printing the schema with this data frame. So still I'm reading this. Okay, here I can see gender and senior citizen is there. That means when I'm doing a time travel and using that version as of 0, and then I'm writing it to some temporary data frame, and I'm printing the schema that these two columns are available. That means I'm able to successfully go to the previous version and do a time travel based on the version number. Okay. So either you can do this, okay, or there is one more option where you can do the same thing, where you can do select star from telco missing bronze version as of 0. Okay, so either you can use this option also, and you can see here gender and senior citizen, it is there. But if I do just if I comment this and just do a select star from this, which is the current version, okay, so then you don't see that gender and senior citizen column here, right? So in the current version. So in the previous version, you are able to see that. Either you can use this option as I was mentioning, or you can use the Spark way of reading that read dot option version as of and then table name you can specify. So basically what we are saying is we are able to do a time travel. So once you do the time travel, you can revert the changes also by using this spark.sql, describe history, order by version, and you're getting this and printing this. So after you print this value, so the same, whatever we did in the previous, we are using the version, right? So in the previous, if you see here, we did it when we do a describe. So we got two things. One is version and timestamp. So we already saw how to do a time travel using version, right? So now we will see how to do a time travel using a timestamp. Okay. So now if you see here, it is giving me the timestamp of that particular version, that is 1221. Okay. The same thing I could have done using describe table, right? Describe history, telecom missing bronze. If I do this for the previous version, what was the timestamp? That is 12:21:47. Okay. With this, either of these methods, I can get the timestamp. So once I get the timestamp, so again, I can do this in two ways. One is using spark.read option, timestamp as of, give the timestamp that you have, and you can get the data from here, right? Or so you can see a gender and senior citizen is coming. Or the other option is you can again use the SQL way of doing it. Select star from. So when you're doing version as of, instead of version as of, you can use timestamp as of, and you can specify the timestamp that you saw here. Okay, you can copy this timestamp. Okay, so you are getting the data and which is having the gender and senior citizen here. So you can do a time travel in two ways. One is using timestamp as of, and another one is using version as of. And that syntactically you can use SQL, or you can use the Spark way of doing it. Right? This is a SQL, and another way is Spark way of doing it. So syntactically, which is comfortable, you can use that. Okay. And based on the original version, we can specify drop the columns distinct and save the save to the table again, right? And version 2 will become the latest version, which is the more accurate version. We can see that now. Okay. So now we have version 2. Okay. So if I do the select star from the table now, now you can see gender and senior citizen is reverted back. So this is the concept of time travel, right? So if you generally see here, what are the different things we have done, right? From starting. So we have imported the required libraries, data that is required for the practice, right? And we have seen different visualization techniques, how to explore the data, how to see how the data is distributed, what are the numerical values, categorical values, right? And so when you're doing a numerical and categorical value, you need to, what is important is the data type. You can tweak the data type as required if Databricks is not able to understand it. And we've also seen the different visualizations. How do you put bar chart and create it in the dashboards, etc. And like you can use SQL way of grouping by aggregating values and displaying that in different visualizations, and understanding more about correlation between different columns, how the data, different columns are correlated with each other, right? And understanding in depth some analysis of using pair plot. So this is just examples, right? So the different visualizations using the this Seaborn libraries, and matplot libraries, and there are a lot of different libraries available. When you for that you need to have a pandas library, pandas data frame enabled. So, and using pandas data frame, we are able to use all of these libraries and visualize the data. Right, and finally, we saw the concept of time travel using version number and the timestamp as well, and you can do using SQL and also the Spark way of writing this code and getting the data back or reverted into a previous versions. So this is all about the basics of loading the data, exploring the data, writing into the delta table, reading from delta table. So this is a very basic operations that is required when you are playing around with Databricks as a machine learning engineer. So this particular video would be helpful from that aspect. So hope this was useful. Thanks for watching.